Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Jorge Sanchez and I'm the Director of Product at Appian. I've been with Appian for over a decade now, and I actually started in the engineering department building some of the stuff that we had for a long time. Then I moved on to professional services, implementing projects, seeing how people are using Appian, and following our best practices as we go along. Then I moved on and started with Mark Wilson the initial phases of our partner ecosystem. So we were the first ones to actually start onboarding partners and coming up with the rules of engagements and things like that. Then I moved on to sales, and I was doing pre-sales engineering. And I remember they told me when I joined sales that it was a little bit about the darker side of the organization. Then when I moved to marketing and product marketing right now, that's when they told me that's the real dark side. But today I'm not going to be talking about the dark side. We're going to be talking about delivering the secured, empowered, and mobile enterprise. And I want to begin by talking a little bit about the mobile landscape, right? And I don't think this is news for anybody. I mean, there's a reason why you're here, and there's a reason why you want to embrace change. And the fact is, the world is changing. Ever since, Heraclitus mentioned this thousands of years ago, and not probably even way before that, the only constant in life is change. Things are changing. And today, I think we can all agree that things are changing rapidly and more rapidly than ever before. Right? Technology is disrupting everything. And if that was true when we brought personal computers into the enterprise, that is even more true with the whole mobile revolution that is going on today. Just in the last few centuries, in fact, I would say in the last few decades, in my opinion, nothing has changed the world as much as computing power and software has. Right? Everybody is a software company. That's what the bigger analysts are saying. Even if you own a restaurant, even if you own a hotel, things that you would say, oh, we don't need software for that. Now you do. Everything is about software, and everything is about how people are using that software, right? So think about, for example, the Apple Watch. Did you know that the Apple Watch packs as much computing power as the iPhone 4 and the iPad 2 before it did? That's incredible. It's on the wrist of your hand, and it has just as much power. And I remember when the iPhone 4 came out, they were saying that the iPhone 4 had the same capabilities as supercomputers did not 10 years ago. So everything is becoming more and more powerful and smaller, and people are now demanding to use those personal devices on their day-to-day lives. So what I want to ask of you, and I imagine that you're here because you're either already using Appian or are thinking about using Appian, and what I want to ask is, are you leveraging the power of mobile that the Appian platform provides? Are you taking advantage of every single thing we have to offer, right? Did you know, for example, that with 16.2, you can now create fully mobile branded applications with just the click of a few buttons? Did you know that you can create and brand applications? Did you know that's what SAIL has to offer? All of these are questions that you can totally answer and leverage with the power of the Appian platform. Now, this mobile revolution is not without its challenges, right? The fact remains, many organizations are just starting to think, how can I use this mobile thing, right? People, we just got into the BYOD bandwagon, or my customers or my users are demanding that we start using mobile. So there's a lot of mobile challenges, right? And here at Appian, like Matt said, if you listen to the keynote, we believe in simplicity. We believe in helping you and giving you the tools that you need to create these mobile applications in the best possible way. So mobile technology is changing the way we do business, and we want to change the way you do mobile. This kind of works that way. Now, the first thing I want to talk about when we're dealing with mobile is IT, right? The things that you see here are all going to impact your bottom line when you're thinking about deploying new applications. And this is not something that just affects mobile, right? If you talk to anybody in the IT department, right, and say, hey, we got this great idea for this new app, somebody in the IT department is thinking, oh my God, how am I going to integrate this with all the other apps that I have? Is it going to work on mobile? Is it going to work on Android? Is it going to work in every single browser? What if they're using an older version of the browser, right? How are we going to handle upgrades? How are we going to procure? Do we need new hardware? Is it going to be secure and compliant? Like, you haven't even written the first line of code or dragged the first node into that process. And all of these things are already coming to your head, preventing you from deploying and delivering the value that you want to deliver. So we're all about removing these IT distractions, right? When you get the power of a platform, and when you use the platform in order to deliver these, and trust the platform to say, hey, the platform is secure. We'll handle the security. Anything you build, any application that you build in Appian is certified to work on every browser. So you got the web app thing figured out. But we also certify that it's going to work on all iOS and Android devices, right? So that's like two things right there that you can just stop worrying about. Then we handle automatic, if you're on the cloud, we do the upgrades for you. We provide the hardware. We have a laundry list of security certifications and third-party audits that we already do for you. So these are all things that you no longer have to worry about. And what does this mean? That you can finally focus on the one thing that you want to focus, which is the app you want to build, right? Focus on the value that you want to deliver to all of these users. Another thing I want to mention is when we talk about platform, one of the things that I think truly differentiates Appian is the fact that we provide a single integrated platform. We go back to the message of simplicity, right? And yes, the focus of this presentation is mobile, but we have to think about it, right? It's never just about mobile. So every time when I go to an event or give a presentation or people approach me about our mobile capabilities, we always do this little dance at first, right? Hey, can you build an interface that shows this? Do you support barcode scanning? Yes. What can you do this? Can you do that? And after we do a little bit of the dance about the mobile aspect of it, then the real question comes. Can your mobile app connect to my systems that I already have in my enterprise? What happens? Can the people that are using your mobile apps in the field provide visibility to the people that are back at headquarters? Can I see what they're doing, how they're doing, what is happening in that enterprise, right? So yes, mobile is a very important part, but you have to think of it as a pillar of a collection of pillars that make up your whole enterprise software landscape. It's a very important part, but it's part of a whole. And if you just think, oh yeah, I'm just going to hire a couple of guys to build me a mobile app with a form and blah, 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 then you're going to need to hire a few other guys to connect to that system and a few other guys to connect it to your historical reporting system, and another guy to, like, it just becomes, a domino effect. But when you use it as part of a platform, it's part of a whole, right? We handle the interfaces, we handle the security, the integrations, we handle the reports, all the content, all of your data in one place. So that gives you even more value right now because it's not just about, I want to have a mobile app available for all my mobile users immediately. Because when you think about the next step is, I want my people back in the office to know. So it's kind of part of a whole. So it's something else that we need to consider. So switching gears, let's go back into mobile and talk a little bit about SAIL. And you might have heard about SAIL in the past. We unveiled this a couple of Appian Worlds ago. But essentially, SAIL is the name we give to our interface and user experience architecture, right? Whether it's called the self-assemblance interface layer or whatever, is the name we give to our interface and user experience architecture. And what it is a way for you to define the intent of those dashboards, of those forms, of those applications, of those reports, and then it takes that intent, and depending on what endpoint that your users are using, right, whether it's a web browser, an iOS native application, Android application, a tablet, is going to render that interface with your intent in the best possible way, in a way that is certified to work, right? So you don't have to hire HTML developers. You don't have to hire an army of Android developers to figure out how they're going to support the new device that just came out. You don't have to hire more developers to figure out that, hey, the iPhone 7 just came out. How am I going to do this? So the way we want to do this, again, with the whole idea of simplicity, right, is we give you the opportunity to define those interfaces by simply, point and click and defining the components. You're not saying, I want to use a barcode scanner that is going to use this library, use this other library to connect via Bluetooth to my phone. No. You simply say, I want a barcode scanner. And yes, maybe I want to, use the American and the European barcode, and I want those to be the ones supported, and you're done. You don't say, I want a button that is on this XY location, that is red and big and uses this image. No, you say, I want an emergency button. And how is that emergency button going to be displayed? In the best possible way that it can be displayed on any user browser or any mobile device. Now, another thing that is very important about SAIL, and going back to simplicity, is we're all about designing once, run anywhere. Now, this doesn't mean that you cannot optimize those designs for mobile or for web, but it also means that if you were to design this in such a way, the SAIL engine is going to automatically optimize the interface that you design in order for it to be displayed in the best possible way. So if I have a multi-column display, it might show great on an iPad, But if you're showing it on a smaller device, like a phone, it's going to rearrange those two columns into one column in a way that makes sense, but still it's still native, right? Another thing that is really good is the ability for rapid adaptation, right? So when you do things with SAIL, you have an opportunity to modularize your design. For example, this part right here, this graphic, right? This can be put into its own interface rule. This part could be another interface rule, another interface rule, another interface rule. What that means is, if it makes sense for you to re-include that graphic into your form, it's completely reusable. You can simply say, okay, I want this rule to be put in that form. And then you say, I want to change the label, right? Oftentimes with other vendors, you can basically do, make a change like a label change and change the name of the form. And now you have to redeploy the app, recompile it, send it to all the other devices, update it in the App Store, wait 2 weeks. With Appian, it doesn't work like that. The server automatically sends the intent immediately to the mobile device, so it's instantly, securely mobile, just as soon as you click save, right? So finally, I just want to close before I switch over to Abdul. Towards the end, if you don't mind. Yeah. So the only thing I want to say, and just reinforce, a single integrated platform, right? Remember, we try to provide you with all the tools that you need to create the enterprise applications today in a way that are modern, secure, and of course, mobile. So that's my part, and I'm going to introduce you all to Abdul Sawayan. Abdul?
Thank you, Jorge. So my name is Abdul Sawayan. I'm the lead product manager for all the mobile efforts within Appian. I've worked in many places before. I worked in the aerospace and defense, building missile launching systems, Navy ships, like the software for it. Worked in computer-aided design. And in all those, like over the 20 years I worked, like the applications we work on are single purpose. You might be targeted for an embedded system, maybe targeted for a particular desktop, or it's just a web application. And what really differentiates Appian, and what gets me really excited, is that I'm part of now a bigger platform. As a product manager, when I think about features we develop, I don't just think about a feature just for like iPhone or just for Android. It has to work holistically and totality on all the platforms we provide. So we support all the platforms, like multiple browsers, multiple operating systems, multiple form factors, like from tablet to phones. But when we think about, like when we first initiate and thinking about a feature, what we want, what we deeply care about is empowering you, the designer, the user of our software. We deeply think about existing workflows that our users have. How can we increase the efficiencies of those workflows? But also, and it's very important for us in the user interfaces, how we can delight the users as they use our software. So over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to highlight some of the things that we have done over the last year. So when I think, like over last year at Appian World, we introduced the concept of sites. And we always think about ways that we can allow our users to have new interactions with our user interfaces. So this year, I'm really proud of the work that we have done since. We've introduced new capabilities to sites. We introduced records and branding and multi-tab support. But when I go back to the whole concept of sites, the reason why we introduced it is that we wanted to provide the user, certain sets of users, with a very focused, a fit-for-purpose interfaces. And let me explain what I mean by that. There are different personas, there are different kinds of users in the enterprise. So when I think about someone in a retail sale environment, they're on the floor selling something in a retail store, they need to have an efficient workflow. They need to have something that does the job as quickly as possible. When they think about, for example, inspectors that go and visit homes to do certain inspections, they don't necessarily want to go have a lot of clutter. They want to have a single purpose application, and that's what they do in and out. So I can talk to you a lot about this for about an hour, but I'm so excited about this. I actually want to show it to you in action. So this is, so this is like what you see in here is sites. So I have different tabs in here. I can see the first tab, it shows a customer. It shows an icon of customers. This is a list, this is a record of all the customers that I have currently. I can see, for example, reporting. I can see like tapping on something that says new request. And this doesn't show you something that says like, okay, you have news, you have reports and records, like generic terms. This is domain specific to someone that you as a designer can design. You can say for this sets of users within my enterprise, I want to give them like a very focused experience. So like new request, for example, here means something to someone like who's like doing customer support things. Like, okay, here's a new request of something that I want. You can look into past historical requests. But not just that, like we deeply, and it's extremely unfortunate, I think the left projector does a better justice to this than the one right here, is that if you look at the navigation bar over there, it shows you the color. This is what we call branding. It shows you the icon, like the logo, Parsec Express here. And when I think, for example, about like certain brands, if I think about Sprint, like associated with the color red. When I think about Verizon, it's red. When I think about AT&T, it's orange. Brand means a lot to a lot of enterprises. They have invested a lot of time on it, and it's part of their identity. So it's part of how they express themselves. So when you give either external contractors access to your system or internal ones, your brand conveys a lot of information, and that's something that you want. So I want to show you, like, everything, as Matt Calkin said earlier today, is about, the Appian is about simplicity. So I'm going to show you, actually, how I can build this in a matter of, like, a few minutes. So if I go here to one of our interfaces, like Interface Designer, or the Application Designer, I'm going to create a site for you just like that one. So the first thing I do here is just say, I'm going to create a site. I'm going to give it the site a name. So and once I do that, I'm presented here with an empty canvas that says, okay, like I have pages. So I'm going to add, like I have up to 5 tabs that I can add. So first, I'm going to make the site, before I get into that, make it accessible to everyone. I'm going to show you how quickly you can iterate and design a site. So I have certain objects, and this application exists on Tempo. I'm going to show you how you can extract that quickly and bring it into a special purpose site. So I come here, and the first tab that I have is going to be, say, customers. And what I see here is when I want to give it like an icon that represents something to me. And I can see here I have a plethora of almost like 500 icons to choose from. So in this case, I'm looking for like users. Like these are all things that represent that concept. I might say, okay, well, customers, like this might be an icon that fits. And in this case, my list of my customers is a record. And what you see here, it auto-populates records that you already have in the system. So I'm going to choose the first one here and click OK. And I'm going to add a new page. I'm going to call it here new request. And I want something like that that says, basically conveys the concept I'm going to add a new request. So it might be like a plus sign. I see here different kinds of pluses here. Like this one might be more appropriate. And in this case, I want it to be an action. So I'm going to choose one of the actions that I have in the system. So I'm going to save this interface, and I'm iteratively going over designing this. So I'm going to actually want to see what it looks like right now. And see over, like in a minute here, I created a site. It shows, like, this is my icon that I chose. It shows you like the name of the tab. I can see here, like a new request. This is an action. So this is fantastic. But I actually want to take it to the next level. I want to customize the appearance of a lot of other things. So I might come here and says, okay, like the default logo is Appian. I want to choose something different. So I have uploaded a document into Appian, an image. So I'm going to call it, I'm going to look for it. It's my logo. And not just that, like we look into the fine details of even the favicon that displays. You might see here, like it says A, and I want to choose my own. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to reload the site. And notice on the top here, the favicon changed. The logo in here changed. So I have the complete and total control of this experience. Now, I don't think I want to change the color of the navigation bar. So I'm going to come here and say, like, okay, well, this is like too dark for me. What if I want, like, and this is basically a hexadecimal number, like RGB. Usually your designers tell you like exactly what they want the user experience to be. So I'm going to choose something like this. So now, if I tap out here, I will see like the Parsec Express logo and with like a light pink behind. That's not what I wanted. So I can see, like before I even refresh it, here what the logo would look like. The contrast doesn't look as nice. So I'm gonna go and say, well, I actually want to reverse this. I want a lighter green effect. Okay, that I like. And I'm gonna choose here a different color for the selected tab. So I don't want pink, so maybe here another B. So I want this one. Basically, you can experiment with what colors you want and what combinations you want, and you can design the experience that your designers want. But I want to show you how easy, actually, like now that I've actually done this on the web, I'm going to go switch back to my iPad. And I want to see what this site that I have here looks like on a mobile device. So I'm going to switch to that one. And you can see the two tabs that I added, the customers and new request, are there. And you can see the navigation is the way that I intended it to be. And the selected bar color is there. And this is with only a few clicks. Like only here, like in a minute or two, I was able to give a customized, refined experience. Like it's something domain specific. And when you truly think about it, one of the goals as well is to reduce the training cost. Like if you have a lot of employees, let's say in a retail environment, you want a no training like UI interface that drastically reduces your operational costs. So that's one of the things that we were striving for. So I next want to talk to you like about a feature that we added. It's called like native barcode scanning for Android. Um, Whenever we add a new feature, we really deeply think about like how do we make existing user flows more efficient. Kathy from Sprint today, for example, was showing you like how they use Appian to do a lot of things. One of which is, like she mentioned, the macro micro cell towers that they have. So this is one of the features they're actually using. The idea behind it is that they have a lot of technicians going servicing those towers. Now, what they do is they go ahead and, like, for example, they would install new equipment, like for maintenance, like replace an old defective one with a new one, or they would just go do maintenance on that particular equipment and just leave it there. But what they want to do is have a record of what happened, what did someone do, what equipment was swapped out with something else. Now, normally, the process they had was they would come, and every equipment these days has a barcode. So they would go and they would the technician would manually type that information. That takes time, and it's error prone. You can actually enter the wrong data. So we were thinking about like how we can make that, like, reduce error completely, 100%, and make the process a whole lot easier. It's much easier to just go scan something than manually enter it. So I want to show you this. But before I do, there are a lot of interesting use cases when you come to barcodes. For example, let's say you're managing, like you're building an application to manage car fleet systems, right? So you have like someone like returning a car, you want to check it in, and you want to rent a car to someone else. And if you look into modern cars, they have they have um, they have VIN numbers, and those VIN numbers are included these days in barcodes. So we can now make like that process much easier than typing in the license plate number. So I'm going to show you a demo of this. So I have an action here. It's called Scan a Book. And Michio Kaku last year came and gave a presentation at Appian World. And I so much liked his presentation that I bought his book. So when I look here, like to give you, like I show you like an image of this, it's Michio Kaku. I'm gonna go to the back end here, and I am going to put the barcode here. And scan the book. And what we did was, like now it got that UPC number of it, and we are actually fetching information about the book from an external web page, Open Library. So when I tap here, I can find a lot more information about the book. I next want to talk to you about, like we added. So I want to next talk to you about like to continue the story of Sprint. So after they have gone and maintained or like replaced equipment, what they wanted to do was it's like, okay, now we've done this service. How do we ensure that whatever that was done, that the service of the tower still is not like there's not a problem that it's affecting the customers? And one of the ways they wanted to do this was there are a lot of programs out there. For example, one of which called a speed test, where you can you might have used it, where you can check like the speed and the latency and the bandwidth of a particular connection. But there are specialized programs that get actually a whole lot more information about like about the cellular tower. And what those programs do is that after you run them, it generates a file that gives you all bunch of information. And what they want to do is that they want to upload that from an Appian form into like a process. And that process will parse that data. And in the case there was a problem, they want an automated way of dispatching someone and alerting someone to go and fix that problem before the customers, like you want to reduce the outage period. So I'm going to be showing you a demo about this in a couple of minutes, but I want to say that this opens the door for a lot of things. You can now upload files locally from Android that are on the local file system, and you can upload file from the clouds, for example, Dropbox. And last year we introduced offline actions for iOS, and this year we're adding it to Android. There are two particular stories here. One customer, for example, a government entity, what they want to do is that they want to inspect sites, like mine sites, in remote ecologically sensitive areas. And in that remote area, you have no internet connection. But they didn't want to have the process of like people like doing the inspections for regulatory compliance on a paper and pencil. They want to do it within Appian. And also, I was talking to someone like yesterday here at Appian World. He's actually present in this room. He came with what they were doing is really interesting. They're doing home inspections, and they're doing them not because like they want to do them offline, not because they have no internet connectivity, but because they go into the homes and they take videos, like a lot of media, like pictures, and those can be in the hundreds of megabytes. And that would overload their data plan, and that would be like a lot of expense to them. So they wanted a way to, even though they have internet connection, to disable it and do all these inspections, and then come to the office and then sync, and that would save them a huge amount of money. So I want to show you quickly a demonstration of this feature. So now here I have my list of actions, and if I go offline, I see the offline banner appearing, so I'm operating in offline mode. And what I do notice is that actions that are available, like designed for offline mode, are available for me to interact with. So when I click the first one here, I can see that I can interact with this form. So in this case, I'm inspecting Jorge's home. He lives in Reston Way or Appian Way. So I'm going to put something here, but what's interesting, I'm going to show you part of the feature I was telling you about, is that if you look at that bottom option, what we added in 16.2 is the ability to choose files or upload files from different sources. So here, when I come into this, I see on the side that I can upload files from Google Drive, I can upload files from, let's see what's highlighted, internal storage. Also, if you install different applications and plug into this, for example, Dropbox, I have like a Sketchbook, I can upload them from there too. Now, because I'm offline, I obviously cannot upload from cloud data sources, but I can upload from a local file here, and you can see a thumbnail of it. And when I submit this form, and now I'm still offline, if I go here, I can see my pending actions, and I can make edits to this form, but if I wanted to. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go online. And when it finally connects, what you see, it syncs and uploads, and you're done. It's that simple. So static offline actions are, like, as a designer, you check a mark and you make it available. So you have to opt into it. And as an administrator, you have, because like, all that information is cached on devices, if for whatever reason you didn't want in your enterprise for mobile devices to cache information, you have ability to disable this in the whole environment. And we have a guide that tells you a lot about like how to design forms for offline. Please look at it, forum. It's designing offline forms. But basically, because you're disconnected, you should avoid dynamic behavior because that information, the interactions are not being sent to the server, and you won't get a new interface. Custom app development is really hard, time-consuming, and expensive. But in this case, like when you use Appian, we follow all the technological innovations. We keep our apps up to date. You're always modern when you use Appian. And I just want to highlight quickly a couple of things we did. The newsfeed now is a lot more engaging. It's a lot more interesting. You can see on Android a preview of the images. You see more content. You can see who commented on it. But also on the iPhone, Apple introduced with iPhone 6s 3D Touch. And as you tap on that feed, you can actually preview some of the information. And if you actually want to look at it, you long tap it. Finally, I would like to talk to you about enterprise mobility management. It used to be that the enterprises, like when the IT department, gave you your phone, they gave you your devices, and they controlled every single aspect of it. Those days are long gone. Yep. So the iPhone changed everything. The iPhone or your smartphone or Android phone, nowadays it's an extension of yourself. I have a 3-year-old son. I have lots of pictures, lots of memories, videos of him. And gone are the days when like an enterprise can actually come and just wipe my device when, say, I leave the company. So the challenge here is because people use their personal phones and they really like it, they don't want to have 2 different phones in their pockets. And so I wouldn't want the IT department to give me a phone and use that for business and use that for personal aspects. But that brings a whole lot of challenging issues to the enterprise. How do you deal with bring your own device environment? How do you enforce corporate security policies? And for that, one of the leading vendors in that space is Good. which is now part of BlackBerry. And what they do is that they allow you to separate the personal from the business aspects of it. So you can still use your personal phone, but business applications are completely sandboxed from the rest of the environment. And what that allows them to do is that, let's say, like you have an employee that leaves the company, you would not need to resort to wiping out their personal phone completely. You control the very specific aspect of the corporate apps that you have in there. So you can issue a remote wipe command to that particular application that's there. But you also can control different aspects of that application. So for example, because it's your corporate application, you can say, no, you do not share a file with like your personal email from within my application. You can only share from my application to another corporate email application. That you can do. You can also prevent the app from running on jailbroken devices. You can do remote lockouts, like you have a lot of control over your particular applications while separating it from the different, the personal aspect. So with that, I pass it to Jorge.
All right. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm really excited about a lot of these features. Like, even when you think about just the always modern concept, right? Whether you wrote the app 5 years ago, you did not have to lift a finger for the users on iOS to experience it using 3D Touch. You did not have to lift a finger on that 5-year-old app for the users to experience the news stream in a completely different way, right? You did not have to lift a finger for the look and feel to change and remain modern. So the value that you provide is there, and the probability of that perception of it being modern, like, oh wow, they improved the way this looks, and the form and the field is better, and now I can do the 3D touch. Oh, kudos to the IT team, and they're like, ha, like the platform took care of it for you, right? So it's another example of how we keep things modern. So in closing, we just want to touch with these 3 points, right? So building modern mobile apps is hard. Ensuring your investments are protected is even harder, right? Staying relevant is also hard. So that's why we believe that that Appian provides the perfect platform on top of which to build all of these applications, because we give you a lot of these tools to build the applications, focus on the value that you want to do, right? I mean, when was the last time anybody read a press release from Bank of America because they updated to Java 9 or Java 8? Nobody cares. But everybody here expects Bank of America to keep their banking information secure, right? So it's one of those things when you can trust a platform, you get all of this value out of it. So in a world where the only thing that is constant is change, the adoption of platforms, and in this case Appian, is absolutely the only logical solution. So we have a few minutes for questions. I know the gentleman over here had a question. I'm sorry I had to push it to the end, but yes. It is always a native application, right? So everything that you have a native container, and then the server will send the information that it needs to send to that container to render the user interface, whether it's a form or a dashboard, in a native way. So you won't see like HTML being displayed inside of a container. It's actually a truly native application.
And there's also a good reason for that, is that if you care about like superb user interfaces, if you care about performance, you go native. And that's why we do it native.
Yes. An external facing transaction for the I see. Yeah. Yes, nowadays we have so many ways to promoting that, right? You can have sites, for example, be a site that is created for every user. Maybe the tempo user interface is available for everybody only within, for example, EMM. But you can create a site that is only accessible to external users, right? And that site provides that focused experience to those users, right? You don't want your external users to be distracted by other things that are only relevant within your organization. So providing them with the site where you say this is what they can see and these are the things that don't need to be inside of EMM, is a perfect way to do that. And that allows to support external contractors, even and B2C, like the consumer part. So the branding, all of that. So it allows you to do that.
I'd be more than happy to talk to you offline about this.
Any other questions? Yes.
The definition of offline, is when you cannot reach the server.
Right. Whether it's your network provider or Wi-Fi.
No. It's completely transparent to you. Like when you cannot reach the server, then you are considered offline.
Mm-hmm. So essentially.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something goes wrong when you used an offline.
So the way you debug this, the way you debug this is the form that's available offline is also available online too, right? So then when you design your application, of course test it that it submits and that you didn't have a bug, right? But once you do that, then you've actually made sure that it works. Then you deploy it for your users to be for offline or online as well. So what happens is that when they connect online, then the mobile device is going to try to submit that, the same form to the server. And then that information will be still available the same way that you did.
Another thing that we kind of brushed through is the ability to perform conflict resolution. So let's say that I went off in the middle of nowhere and perform for 2 weeks offline actions, and somebody back at headquarters decided to update that form that I submitted and added a new required field or updated the validation or added something in there that's conflicting with the version that I submitted. So when the time you connect, it'll actually identify those changes and tell you, hey, we've identified this change. Before I submit it, here's the information that you had. Here's the new form. You can see that there's a new dropdown. Update the information, and then it'll synchronize appropriately. So that conflict resolution feature is also there, and it's very powerful to make sure that if you were out for 3 weeks or so, you come back and it's ready to roll when updating that. Okay, I believe we're maybe one more.
I will take your question actually right now, but okay, we need to clear the room. But I'll talk to you. Yes. Thank you all very much.